When we talked previously, you said to me, you're trying to make your key customer contact the hero of their world.
Right.
But how do you help your customer become the hero?
Well, the first thing I'll point out is that a common rookie mistake in sales is when you focus too much time on your product and not enough time on the customer. And I learned this myself when I was at Leverage Point, and partly was responsible for selling the software we created. And at the time, I naively thought that if I just did my spectacular demo, people would love it and then they would buy it. Now, admittedly, sometimes they like the demo. Okay. They didn't often buy, right? And the reason for that was because I was telling a story in which my product was the hero, right? Leverage Point was the hero to solve all their problems. And although that's a great story, it's not very interesting to customers. Customers don't want to hear that story, nor do they want to hear, the legacy of the 50 years you've been in business and yada yada yada. It's just noise to them. What they really want to hear is a story where they become successful, right? They are the hero of, of their company who overcame a challenge. They love hearing that story. And what I found is that when you start working along those lines, they'll help you write that story, right? That's where that came from. And this I discovered, but I also learned later that this is a common sales technique, and it comes from the work of Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but he wrote a book called The Hero's Journey. I figure you would, because you worked at Disney. But what it's about is basically, it was an academic study about legends and stories, going back to antiquity, right? But Hollywood picked up on that, and that became the manual for script development. How you tell a narrative, right? An interesting story. And so just about any blockbuster movie, whether it's like The Wizard of Oz or Star Wars, follows this. So getting back to, my Leverage Point experience, I was trying to be Luke Skywalker with my product, but where I should have been is a different role. I should have been the Obi Wan Kenobi, right? So Campbell calls that the mentor role. And that role is really important, especially in the early stages of that journey that the hero goes through. They go through trials and, all sorts of things. And then they come out at the end transformed as the hero. But that's a really, really important role. So that's what great salespeople do. They act as mentors for their customers throughout, their hero's journey, which, corresponds to the buying journey, right? So that's what I meant by making the customer the hero of their story.